Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. The last laugh delivers stories that leave you speechless. If you're here for it, hit subscribe and let's go. My name is Emma Rodriguez, and I'm 27 years old. I work as a pediatric nurse at Providence Hospital in downtown Denver. I live alone in a third-floor apartment in a converted warehouse building, one of those trendy loft-style places with exposed brick and industrial windows. My life is good, stable, unremarkable. Or at least it was until 4 in the morning on that Friday in October. I'd gotten home from a double shift around midnight, exhausted and ready to collapse. I'd showered, eaten leftover Thai food, and fallen into bed around 1. My apartment was my sanctuary, 800 square feet of carefully decorated space that felt safe and entirely mine. The sound that woke me wasn't loud. It was subtle, a soft scraping noise near my front door. I checked my phone, 4:03 a.m. I lay there in the darkness, listening. Probably just my neighbor Mr. Kowalski leaving early for his bakery shift. He sometimes knocked into things in the hallway. I was drifting back to sleep when I heard it again. Not from the hallway this time, from right outside my door. A gentle sliding sound, like paper on hardwood. I got out of bed and crept to my door, avoiding the creaky floorboard near my bookshelf. Through the peephole, I saw nothing but the empty hallway, dimly lit by emergency exit signs. But when I looked down, I saw a folded piece of white paper on my floor, just inside the gap under my door. Someone had just slipped a note into my apartment. My heart started pounding. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the paper like it might explode. Who delivers notes at 4 in the morning? I thought about calling building security, but for what? Someone left me a note? I picked it up with shaking hands and unfolded it. The message was handwritten in block letters, black ink, urgent and messy. Your EX hired people. They're in your house. Don't go in. Call police. I'm sorry I can't help more. I read it 3 times, my brain struggling to process the words. My ex? I hadn't dated anyone seriously in over a year. My last boyfriend, Tyler, and I had broken up 14 months ago. It had been messy, he'd been controlling, jealous, increasingly paranoid about where I went and who I talked to. I finally ended it after he'd shown up at the hospital unannounced 3 times in 1 week to check on me, but that was more than a year ago. He'd moved to Arizona for a job. He'd stopped texting after I'd blocked him on everything. Why would he? My phone buzzed in my hand, making me jump. A notification from my home security app, motion detected, living room camera. I installed 2 small security cameras 6 months ago after someone had broken into the building's storage units. One pointed at my front door from inside, one covered my living room and kitchen area. I'd checked them obsessively for the first week, then mostly forgot about them except when I was traveling. With trembling fingers, I opened the app. The live feed from my living room camera loaded slowly, the image grainy in the darkness. For a moment, I saw nothing but my familiar furniture, my gray couch, my coffee table, my bookshelf. Then a shadow moved. Someone was in my apartment. A figure dressed in dark clothing crossed in front of the camera, moving from my kitchen toward my bedroom. My bedroom, where I should have been sleeping. Where they thought I was sleeping. I clapped my hand over my mouth to keep from screaming. I was standing in my tiny entryway in pajamas, staring at my phone, watching a stranger walk through my home. A stranger who thought I was asleep in my bed. But I wasn't in my apartment. I was in my apartment. I was standing right here, 15 feet from my bedroom. How was someone in my living room? I'd locked the door when I came home. I'd checked it twice, the way I always did after Tyler had once let himself in with a spare key I hadn't known he'd made. Unless they were already inside when I got home. The thought made my legs weak. I'd been sleeping for 3 hours with intruders in my apartment. They'd been waiting for me to fall into deep sleep, waiting for the right moment to what? Rob me? Hurt me? The note said Tyler had hired them. Hired them for what? Before we go further, make sure you subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from. I pulled up my phone's keypad to dial 911, but my hands were shaking so badly I could barely type. I took a breath and forced myself to focus. The note. 2B. That was the apartment directly below mine. Mrs. Chen, the elderly woman who always smiled at me in the elevator. She'd slipped me this note. Why would Mrs. Chen know about intruders in my apartment? On my phone screen, I watched the figure move back toward the kitchen. Then a second figure appeared. 2 people. 2 strangers in my home at 4 in the morning. I dialed 911, pressing the phone to my ear. 911, what's your emergency? Someone's in my apartment, I whispered, my voice shaking. I'm in the hallway. There are people inside. I can see them on my security camera. What's your location? Riverside Lofts, 2847, Blake Street, apartment 3C. Please hurry. Are you safe right now? Are you away from the apartment? I'm in the hallway outside my door. I woke up and someone slipped a note under my door warning me, and then I checked my cameras and there are 2 people inside. Do not enter the apartment. Do you have somewhere safe you can go right now? I can go downstairs to 2B. That's who warned me. Do that now. Officers are en route. Stay on the line with me. I moved as quietly as I could toward the stairwell, my bare feet silent on the hallway carpet. I kept the phone to my ear and my security app open on the screen. The figures in my apartment were searching now. I could see them opening drawers, moving things around. I reached apartment 2B and knocked softly. Mrs. Chen? It's Emma from upstairs. The door opened immediately, revealing not an elderly Chinese woman but a man in his 30s with cropped hair and sharp eyes. He pulled me inside quickly and locked the door behind me. You're not Mrs. Chen, I said stupidly. Mrs. Chen moved out 2 months ago. I'm Detective James Park, Denver PD. I've been living here undercover. He showed me a badge. Are you Emma Rodriguez? I nodded, completely confused. Why are you undercover in my building? We've been investigating your ex-boyfriend, Tyler Brennan. He's connected to a group that specializes in home invasions targeting women who filed restraining orders or harassment complaints. You never filed formal charges against him, which made you vulnerable. We've been monitoring his communications, and 2 days ago we intercepted messages indicating he hired someone to break into your apartment tonight. The room tilted. Tyler hired people to break into my apartment? Why? According to the messages we intercepted, he's been obsessed with you since you broke up. He believes you're seeing someone new, which you're not, we know that, but he's convinced himself of it. He wanted proof. These men were hired to install hidden cameras in your apartment, go through your phone and laptop while you slept, and report back to him about your activities. I felt sick. He's been planning this for how long? We believe several weeks. We only learned about it 48 hours ago. We've had surveillance on your building since then, waiting for them to make their move. When we saw them enter the building an hour ago, I slipped you that note. I couldn't risk knocking, they might have heard. I needed to get you out of that apartment without alerting them. How did they get in? I locked my door. They had a key. Tyler likely made a copy before you broke up, or he obtained one through other means. They entered your apartment around 3:30 a.m. through your front door. They've been waiting for you to reach deep sleep before making their move. My phone was still connected to 911. The dispatcher's voice came through. Ms. Rodriguez? Officers are entering the building now. SWAT is on scene. SWAT. This had escalated so fast I could barely process it. Detective Park moved to his window, which overlooked the building's entrance. They're here. Stay back from the windows and doors. I watched on my security camera as the 2 figures in my apartment suddenly froze. One of them pulled out a phone, checked it, and said something to the other. They both moved quickly toward my door. They're leaving, I said. They're running. Park was already on his radio. Suspects are mobile, heading for exit. 3rd floor. What happened next felt like something from a movie. Through Park's door, I heard shouting in the hallway, police. Get on the ground. Then scuffling, thuds, more shouting. It lasted maybe 30 seconds before silence fell. Park opened his door cautiously, gun drawn, and peered out. Then he holstered his weapon and nodded to me. They got them. Both in custody. My legs finally gave out, and I sat down hard on Park's couch. This is insane. This can't be real. I need you to stay here for a bit while we secure your apartment and process the scene. Are you okay? Do you need medical attention? No, I need a minute. I looked at my phone, at the live feed from my apartment. Police officers were moving through my space now, their flashlights sweeping across my furniture. Did they touch anything? Plant cameras? We'll do a complete sweep. If they installed anything, we'll find it. He paused. For what it's worth, I don't think they got that far. We've been monitoring their communications in real time. They were supposed to wait until 5 a.m., when they believed you'd be in your deepest sleep. You waking up at 4 and checking your camera, that wasn't part of their plan. Why did I wake up? I wondered aloud. I normally sleep through everything. Maybe some part of your brain sensed danger. Or maybe you're just lucky. I thought about the soft scraping sound of the note being slipped under my door. Park had deliberately made just enough noise to wake me without alerting the intruders. He'd saved me without ever speaking a word. 20 minutes later, a female officer came to get me. Ms. Rodriguez? I'm Officer Sarah Martinez. We've cleared your apartment. We found 2 hidden cameras they'd just finished installing, one in your bedroom smoke detector, one in your bathroom vent. We've removed them both. We'd like you to come up and tell us if anything else looks disturbed. I followed her upstairs on shaky legs. My front door was propped open, and police officers were moving in and out. Yellow evidence markers dotted my living room. A technician was photographing my bedroom doorway. My apartment looked the same but felt completely violated. Strangers had been in here while I slept. They'd planted cameras in my most private spaces. They'd gone through my things. Martinez guided me through each room, asking me to identify anything out of place. In my bedroom, I noticed my nightstand drawer was slightly open. I always closed it completely. My laptop, usually centered on my desk, was shifted to the left. In the bathroom, I found makeup scattered on the counter when I always kept it organized in a drawer. They were thorough, Martinez said. But not careful enough. We've got their fingerprints everywhere. Plus they left their tools in your kitchen, lockpick set, camera installation equipment, everything. What about Tyler? Is he being arrested? Detective Park is coordinating with officers in Phoenix right now. Tyler Brennan will be in custody within the hour. He's facing serious charges: conspiracy to commit burglary, stalking, violation of privacy, and potentially others as the investigation continues. I sat on my couch, the same couch I'd watched strangers walk past on my security camera. I don't understand. We broke up over a year ago. Why now? Park had followed us upstairs. He settled into my armchair, apparently comfortable despite the crime scene chaos around us. Tyler's been monitoring your social media obsessively. 3 weeks ago, you posted a photo with a male colleague at a hospital charity event. Tyler became convinced this man was your new boyfriend. He's been spiraling since then, making increasingly detailed plans to prove you were seeing someone. I remembered that photo. Kevin from radiology. We'd worked the same hospital booth at a 5K charity run. It had been completely innocent. He's been tracking your work schedule through the hospital's public staff directory, Park continued. He knew when you worked doubles, when you'd be most exhausted. Tonight was chosen specifically because you worked a double shift and would be in deep sleep. The premeditation of it chilled me. Tyler had been watching me from Arizona, planning this violation, hiring criminals to invade my home. The man I'd once dated, once trusted, had become someone I didn't recognize. The 2 men we arrested are brothers, Martinez added. Ryan and Cole Matthews. They have records: burglary, breaking and entering, electronics surveillance. They've done this kind of work before for jealous exes and suspicious spouses. You're the 5th victim we know about. 5th. The number horrified me. This is part of a larger investigation. We've been building a case against the Matthews brothers for 6 months. Tyler contacted them through an encrypted messaging app, but we'd already infiltrated their communications. When we saw your name come up, we moved quickly to put you under protection. That's why you moved into Mrs. Chen's apartment? Park nodded. We needed someone close enough to intervene if things went wrong. Mrs. Chen was already planning to move in with her daughter. We offered to cover her last 2 months of rent in exchange for using her apartment. She was happy to help. Before we go further, make sure you subscribe to the channel and told us where you re-watching from in the comments. The next few hours passed in a blur of questions, statements, and evidence collection. I sat at my kitchen table while police photographed everything, dusted for prints, and bagged the hidden cameras as evidence. Dawn broke slowly through my industrial windows, the orange light making the police activity look surreal. Around 7 a.m., Martinez brought me coffee from the shop downstairs. You should probably stay somewhere else for a few days, she said gently. Even though we've cleared your apartment, it might not feel safe for a while. I don't want him to win, I said. I don't want Tyler to make me afraid of my own home. That's brave, but give yourself time to process. You've just been through a serious trauma. Detective Park sat down across from me. Tyler's in custody in Phoenix. He's being extradited to Denver to face charges here. The Matthews brothers are being held without bail. This wasn't their first offense, and with the additional victims we've identified, they're looking at serious prison time. What happens now? You'll need to give a full statement, which we can do later today or tomorrow, whenever you're ready. We'll need you to testify eventually, but that's months away. For now, focus on taking care of yourself. The district attorney will be in touch. We have mountains of evidence: the messages between Tyler and the Matthews brothers, the cameras they installed, their tools and fingerprints in your apartment. This is a solid case. I wrapped my hands around the coffee cup, trying to absorb warmth. Can I ask you something? The note you slipped under my door, why did you phrase it that way? Your ex hired people. Why tell me that specific detail? Park considered for a moment. Because if I'd just said intruders in your apartment, you might have thought it was a prank or a mistake. But mentioning your ex, I gambled that it would trigger your instincts. That it would feel real enough to make you check your cameras before ignoring the warning. It worked. If you just said someone was inside, I might have convinced myself I was being paranoid. Exactly. I needed you to take it seriously without causing panic that might alert the intruders. By 9 a.m., the police had finished processing my apartment. They'd removed the hidden cameras, photographed everything, and collected all the evidence they needed. Martinez gave me a card with victim services information and a case number. We'll have an officer patrol this area more frequently for the next few weeks, she said. And if you need anything, call me directly. She'd written her personal cell number on the back of her card. After everyone left, I stood alone in my apartment. It looked normal, my couch, my books, my carefully chosen artwork on the exposed brick walls. But it felt different. Contaminated somehow. I thought about Tyler. I'd spent 6 months dating him, had felt affection for him despite his controlling tendencies. I'd thought breaking up would end things. Instead, he'd nursed his obsession for over a year, planning this violation from hundreds of miles away. My phone rang. My mom, calling from San Antonio. News traveled fast. Detective Park had called my emergency contact number. Mija, I just heard. Are you okay? Do you want me to come there? I'm okay, Mom. Scared, but okay. You're coming home. I'm booking a flight right now. Mom, I have work. I have shifts scheduled. Your safety is more important than your shifts. Let me take care of you for a few days. And maybe that was what I needed. To be somewhere that felt completely safe, surrounded by people who'd loved me long before Tyler had ever existed. I called my supervisor at the hospital and explained what had happened. She was horrified, immediately offering me the rest of the week off and connecting me with the hospital's employee assistance program for counseling. Then I packed a bag, just like I'd done countless times for normal trips, but this time I was running from my own apartment. Before I left, I checked every lock, every window. I positioned my security cameras to cover every angle. And I thought about the note that had saved me. I'm sorry I can't help more. 2B, Detective Park had helped more than he knew. He'd trusted his instincts about when to wake me. He'd phrased his warning in exactly the right way to make me take action. He'd positioned himself to protect me without my ever knowing I needed protection. I flew to San Antonio that afternoon. My mom met me at the airport with tears in her eyes and crushing hug that lasted a full minute. My dad gripped my shoulders and looked at me with an expression that mixed relief and fury at Tyler, at the situation, at his inability to have prevented it. For 3 days, I let them take care of me. I slept in my childhood bedroom. I ate my mom's cooking. I talked to a therapist who specialized in stalking victims. I gave my full statement to Denver police via video call. And I processed what had happened. Tyler had hired criminals to invade my home, install cameras in my most private spaces, and monitor my life. He'd done it because he couldn't accept that I'd moved on. Even though I hadn't even moved on, I'd just continued living my life without him in it. The scariest part was how close it had come to succeeding. If Detective Park hadn't been living directly below me. If he hadn't slipped that note at exactly 4 a.m. If I hadn't woken up to the soft sound of paper sliding under my door. If I hadn't checked my security camera. Any one of those things going differently, and I would have woken up with hidden cameras recording my every move. Tyler would have been watching me shower, sleep, live my life, all without my knowledge or consent. The violation was almost too much to contemplate. But it hadn't succeeded. Thanks to a detective who'd trusted his instincts about when to warn me, and thanks to my own decision to take that warning seriously despite my doubts. On my 4th day in San Antonio, I got a call from the district attorney's office. Tyler had been formally charged with multiple felonies. The Matthews brothers had decided to cooperate, providing detailed information about Tyler's plans in exchange for reduced sentences. The evidence was overwhelming. He's going to prison, the prosecutor told me. This is a solid case, and with his messages and the physical evidence, he doesn't have much of a defense. We're talking years, not months. Good, I said, and meant it. I returned to Denver a week after the break-in. My apartment had been professionally cleaned by a service the police department recommended, one that specialized in crime scene remediation. They'd changed my locks, installed additional security measures, and even rearranged some of my furniture at my request. I needed it to feel different, not like the space strangers had moved through in the darkness. Detective Park checked on me that first day back. He was moving out of 2B, Mrs. Chen's daughter was taking over the lease. How are you doing? He asked, standing in my doorway like a normal neighbor, not the undercover cop who'd saved my life. Better. Still processing. I jump at every sound, but I'm working on it. That's normal. It'll get easier. He paused. For what it's worth, you handled everything exactly right. You trusted the warning, you called 911 immediately, you stayed safe. A lot of people would have ignored that note or tried to confront the situation themselves. I almost did ignore it. I thought it might be a prank. But you didn't ignore it. You checked your camera. You trusted your instincts enough to verify before dismissing the warning. After he left, I stood at my window and looked out at the Denver skyline. My life had been turned upside down by someone else's obsession, but I'd survived. I'd made the right choices in the critical moments. The trial took place 5 months later. I testified about my relationship with Tyler, about the breakup, about finding the note and discovering the intruders. The Matthews brothers testified about Tyler hiring them, showed screenshots of his messages, described in detail what they'd been hired to do. Tyler sat at the defense table looking nothing like the man I'd once dated. He looked smaller somehow, defeated. He never made eye contact with me. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Tyler Brennan was sentenced to 8 years in prison. The Matthews brothers received 6 years each. The prosecutor called it a clear message that stalking and invasion of privacy would be taken seriously by the justice system. I felt no satisfaction, only relief. It was over. A year later, I still live in the same apartment. I upgraded my security system significantly, more cameras, smart locks, window sensors, everything. I joined a support group for stalking victims. I went through months of therapy to process the trauma. But I also reclaimed my life. I continued working as a pediatric nurse. I made new friends. I eventually started dating again, though it took time to trust. I learned to distinguish between normal relationship concerns and red flags of controlling behavior. And I learned to trust warnings. Detective Park, James, as I now call him, became a friend. He checks in every few months, usually with coffee and updates on cases he's working. He told me that my case helped them build a larger prosecution against the Matthews brothers' operation. 4 other women came forward after seeing the news coverage, women who'd been victimized by the same surveillance scheme. All of them got justice. You speaking up started a chain reaction, James told me. Those other women might never have reported if they hadn't seen that someone else was willing to go through the trial. I think about that night often. About the soft sound of paper sliding under my door at 4 a.m. About the decision I made to pick up that note instead of ignoring it. About checking my security camera even though I thought the warning might be fake. My life was saved by inches, by a detective's careful timing, by my light sleeping, by the decision to trust a stranger's warning even when it seemed impossible. Sarah Martinez, the officer who'd helped me that night, told me something I'll never forget: survival often comes down to the split-second decisions we make when we're scared. Trust your fear. Trust people who try to warn you. Trust your instincts even when they're inconvenient. I'm Emma Rodriguez. I'm 28 now. I'm a nurse, a survivor, and someone who learned that warnings, even strange ones at 4 a.m., deserve to be taken seriously. If this story moved you, subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. And if you ever receive a warning that seems strange or impossible, don't dismiss it. Check it out. Verify it. Trust your instincts. That note slipped under my door was the difference between violation and safety, between becoming a victim and becoming a survivor. Someone cared enough to warn me, and I cared enough about myself to listen. Listen to the warnings. Trust your fear. Take precautions even when they seem excessive. Your life might depend on it.